Well, surprise, surprise. We're having issues with students in these social distancing schools where they have to log in from Zoom and interact with their class and their teachers that way. Well, we just had a couple instances of kids getting in trouble for brandishing guns to their class and their classrooms, which was deemed, harmful and traumatizing and, compromised people's safety because they're brandishing guns in their own home on a Zoom call. And also, too, you may be wondering, is this, young children, are they holding real guns up in front of their class? No, they happen to be toy guns. In fact, clearly they are toy guns, no question. But our first kid, Isaiah, so he has one of those lime green zombie hunter, either Nerf or BB guns. You've seen them in the stores, right? They say zombie hunter on them. They're bright green, orange tips. They completely look like toy guns. There's not really a question about it. It should be pretty clear to anyone who saw it. It's a toy gun. But also, he got suspended for 5 days because he apparently showed this gun to the class on the screen. And the story is that he had the gun on one side of his computer or his desk, and he picked it up and he moved it over to the other side. And that's what he got in trouble and suspended for. And on top of that, the police ended up coming to his home and questioning him and his parents, and there's a whole mess of things with that. Instead of, simply saying kid shouldn't have toys during the Zoom call and, either talking to the parents or whatever it may be. It's a kid in his bedroom with his toys. And in these circumstances, these are different environments, right? If a kid is going to school, their parents can tell them not to take something to school. You're going into this environment with other kids. You don't need to be taking this or that or whatever it may be. And they're understanding they're going to a separate place, and it's a place where they're supposed to learn and not play around and stuff. But these kids are now having to go to school in their own homes, their own bedrooms or, family rooms, wherever it may be. And it's not really clear to all of them that they shouldn't be playing with stuff in the meantime. We have another story similar to this where a kid was playing with, I think this time it was a BB gun, and he got in trouble as well because he finished a quiz early and he was messing around with the toy gun, just playing with it. So they're in these home environments where they think, okay, it's fine to do this, or in the first kid's instance, just move the gun over. Not a big deal, right? No, apparently this is a big deal, and people are getting in trouble for it. In fact, with the first boy, Isaiah, the school issued a notice of suspension and said that he violated district or building policies or procedures. They also said he was guilty of behavior on or off school property which is detrimental to the welfare, safety, or morals of the other pupils or school personnel. You're telling me that this kid, Isaiah, who moved his gun from one side to the other, was acting in a way that was detrimental to the welfare, safety, or morals of the other school pupils or personnel? In no way does that make sense. He's not sitting there pretending to shoot all of his classmates on the screen. That might be a different issue, and even then, it's a toy gun. But he literally is just moving it across the screen, or they're playing with the toys in their own home. It's not worthy of calling the cops on these families and having kids being interrogated by the cops. So it's just ridiculous. They go on to say in further statements that this is the school. We understand there are many questions regarding an incident that took place during distance learning. There are also several inaccuracies being spread on social media. While we cannot get into the details due to privacy laws, we want to clear up a few misconceptions. We never have or ever will condone any form of racism or discrimination. Safety will always be number one for our students and staff. We follow board policies and safety protocols consistently. Whether we are in person or distance learning, the school statement reads. Okay, so they're just clearing up here, by the way, this isn't racism. We just want you to know that we didn't ban him because it was racism. We suspended him because he had a gun. I mean, look at this kid. He's got a Nerf gun collection. What is he going to do? Shoot you with a bunch of foam bullets or shoot himself with a foam bullet during the class? It's not something worth a 5-day suspension over. There's no other kids there. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's a foam freaking dart. Now, maybe if he was going in like Gun Rambo and heading into all his classmates' houses while they were on break and shooting them up with Nerf guns, maybe that would be a problem, right? But this kid is in his own home. He's not bothering anybody. It's a toy gun. He's moving out of the way. You've got to be kidding me. And with the other kid, too, he did a little bit more. Like I said, the other story, he was an 11-year-old boy, and he was caught, I guess, messing with a magazine in his toy gun. And, he got in trouble for that and got suspended. So it's just they're getting really aggressive over this type of thing with toys in the background and whatnot. But on top of all of that, there's also an issue with schools not wanting their parents to monitor their children's virtual classes, which seems really odd, right? It actually seems like it would be really helpful to have a parent around, right? Let's say the teacher's explaining something over Zoom and the child doesn't get it. If the parent heard the way the teacher explained it to the kid and the kid's still not understanding it, maybe they could, help them after class more because they were able to bridge the gap from where the kid's not understanding what the teacher's, putting across. But no, that's not what schools want. They actually think, at least some of them, think it's harmful to have a parent in the room. We have Rutherford County schools that right here tell parents not to monitor their children's virtual classrooms. And parents have to sign a form agreeing not to watch. I'm going to read you a bit of what that form says. RCS strives to present these opportunities in a secure format that protects students' privacy to the greatest extent possible. However, because these meetings occur virtually, RCS is limited in its ability to fully control certain factors, such as non-student observers that may be present in the home of a student participating in the virtual meeting. RCS strongly discourages non-student observation of online meetings due to the potential confidential information about its student being revealed. We are aware of concern that has been raised about the distance learning letter that was sent to parents, and the intent was not to prevent parents from being involved with children during distance learning, but was intended to protect the academic privacy of students in the classroom who are visible during certain virtual class sessions. So their excuse, essentially, is that we don't want you watching your kid's class because maybe you could see one of the other students and their privacy would be violated. Well, if that's the case, the parent doesn't have to watch. They can just listen, whatever. But if that were the real reason in a lot of these places, it would be one thing, but it doesn't seem like a very strong reason. And in fact, we actually have a lot of teachers that have been caught talking and discussing the other reasons they don't want parents listening in. So we had a teacher here who his post has since been taken down, but had some interactions with it and whatnot that were very interesting with some of the other teachers. Said, so this fall, virtual class discussions will have many potential spectators, parents, siblings, etc. in the same room. We'll never be quite sure who is overhearing the discourse. What does this do for our equity inclusion work? How much have the students depended on the somewhat secure barriers of our physical classroom to encourage vulnerability? How many of us have installed some version of what happens here stays here to help this? While the conversations about race are in my wheelhouse and remain a concern in the no walls environment, I am most intrigued by the damage that helicopter snowplow parents can do in honest conversations about gender sexuality. And while conservative parents are my chief concern, I know that the damage can come from the left too if we're engaged in the messy work of destabilizing a kid's racism or homophobia or transphobia. How much do we want their classmates' parents piling on? Oh my goodness. This idea that, you are the one as a teacher that is going to cure a kid, and first off, you think the kid is being fed racism, homophobia, and transphobia at home, and you are the one that is there to cleanse them of this horrific, belief system, and that your way is the right way, and that basically, and it calls out conservatives specifically, parents disagree with you, and that you need to have honest conversations about their gender, race, and sexuality because they're not getting those at home. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. What you are saying by posting this type of thing is that I have an opinion, an agenda, and I believe things should be a certain way. And I know that a bunch of these kids' parents believe the opposite. So I'm going to teach their kid my way and teach them that my way is the right way without any evidence or proof. And I'm going to tell the kid that what happens here stays here, and your parents are going to lie to you at home, yada, yada, yada. This way's the right way. It's absolutely crazy. And, you know, there were teachers that chimed in to talk about their own, points of view on this. One teacher said that she had also been thinking about the problem Kay described, and that they had decided that she would ask students about their preferred pronouns via survey, though she still worries that caregivers might see it and learn something about their children they weren't supposed to know. So they're coming up with strategies to type it in like a chat survey so the parents don't overhear the teacher asking their kid what pronoun they are. Another said that students last semester would sometimes type secrets into the chat whenever the discussion turned to anti-racism and gender-inclusive content. Another complained that a white parent, and she specified white, in her district recorded a Zoom class and filed a complaint against the teacher for an anti-racist read aloud. Saying the teacher's commentary was inappropriate and biased. The teacher says it's going to be an issue. So it is clearly this thing being taught in schools and this desire for some teachers to keep hidden from parents what they're teaching the kids. And especially, too, if any of you know about the things like the 1619 Project, where it's completely revisionist history, where they change history to things that are not true or twist the truth in a way that creates a different outcome or different response to it. That kind of stuff is being implemented in schools. And a lot of parents might not know, might not have any idea. But now that we're in a virtual learning, virtual classroom environment, they might start to pick up on some of this stuff. If your kid's doing their work over on the table and you're sitting over on the couch next to them and you overhear something that just sounds completely off, you're going to be like, whoa, and then maybe go ask your kid, hey, what is your teacher teaching you about this? And then you would actually be able to have a discussion with your child on whether or not that is true, and also why or why not it would be true or false with evidence, and explain to them and teach them how to think. That's the worst thing for the teachers that behave like this. And granted, not all teachers are like this, but a teacher is going to hate it if you teach your kid how to think and how to think through these things that they're being taught by their teachers. If you hear a lot of this content being taught to them, for instance, the 1619 Project, for example, since that's a really big one, or maybe some of these crazy gender theory, race things they're talking about, and this intersectionality stuff. If you take that and you hear all that being taught to your child, and you're able to explain to your child why that's wrong in a clear, concise manner, and have them think about it, and you've taught your kid, how to think, the teacher is going to absolutely hate that, because they just want the kid to absorb the information that they are saying, so that when that kid gets older, they can repeat, regurgitate, and follow everything that has been taught to them, and they will assume it is absolutely true because a teacher who is in a position of authority told them that. So it's very interesting how this virtual learning environment is playing out, and I find it funny because it seemed like before you had it was mostly this crowd on the left that was anti, going back to school for physical classrooms and wanted the distance learning. But now it's like, oh crap, now parents can listen in and now parents can see what's going on, and we need to come up with something else, or we need to find a way to keep parents off the channel. And kids need to get in trouble for any toy that's on the screen whatsoever, whether it be something that's an actual threat to the child or someone else, or it's just a toy that offends someone. They will get the police called on them, apparently. So that wraps up all the issues right now going on with the virtual schooling. Stuff is constantly coming out with this stuff. It seems like a kid's getting in trouble for something every day, and they're coming up with ways to, ban parents from watching by having them sign forms or whatever it may be. But it's crazy, I tell you. It's absolutely crazy. That does it for this segment, though, guys. I thank you for tuning in. If you like the video, remember to leave a like, subscribe. It helps me out. If anything else, just share the video, and we will see you in the next segment. You all have a good one.